I've literally spent like 2 or 3 days crafting this perfect presentation that's going to explain everything from A to Z. So this is the only YouTube video you need to watch. I'm not going to waste your time. Today we will look into why I quit social media forever. Let's get into it. Now, first of all, how is this video structured? First of all, we're going to go into the science behind social media addiction. Who wants you to be addicted in the first place? Who makes you addicted? Who are the people behind those platforms that craft everything so perfectly to make it as addicting as possible so that you can't get off of those platforms? Why are they doing that? What is the reason? What is the motivation behind them crafting this perfect platform to waste your life practically? We'll get into that. Why are they doing that? And how are they doing it? So the science behind social media addiction. Number 2, we're going to look into the short-term and also the long-term effects of social media usage. And number 3, we're going to go into my own journey and how to quit. This video is a collection of all the videos that are on YouTube already, all the information put together, plus my own experience and my own journey. One of the videos that have really helped me get into this topic is Quit Social Media by Dr. Cal Newport. I've read some of his books, by the way. I really love this guy and the way he writes his books, really straightforward and really helpful tips. And just like his books, his video or his TED Talk is really good about quitting social media. So I would recommend watching it. Now let's get to the first slide. The first thing that we have to understand about social media is that it is not a useful technology. Rather, it's just entertainment. So we had entertainment for thousands of years, but social media is just a form of entertainment. If we look at useful technologies, first of all, we have the automobile. All in all, it's a useful technology, and it's not just for entertainment. It serves a particular purpose, and the purpose is to get from A to Z, and that purpose is covered by having this automobile. It has some downsides, all right? No technology is perfect. Anything that humans are going to do is going to be flawed. That's absolutely normal. But all in all, it's a useful technology. Another good example is the radio. It serves a specific purpose. It is kind of a distraction, but it still has some purpose to it. The cell phone, also really straightforward. The internet in and of itself, also a really good invention to connect people from all across the world. Has been really useful, especially during the Cold War, for example. Now, social media is a useless technology because it gives you the feeling of you connecting with people, but it actually does the quite opposite. It distances you from people. Just take from this point, we have to understand that social media is nothing else than entertainment, and it's a useless technology instead of compared to a useful technology like the automobile, because it doesn't serve a specific purpose, and the purpose that it serve or should serve is not met, and it's doing the exact opposite. So imagine you driving an automobile and you're actually slower to your destination. That would be useless, right? That's what I mean. Now let's get to the next slide. Now that we understand that social media is only entertainment, we have to understand that there are people getting paid to make it as entertaining as possible. So to put it differently, they're trying to make you addicted to those platforms. Now let's look at some of these jobs. We've got an attention engineer. You can Google this. This job really exists. And I mean, the title is kind of weird already. Attention engineer. What are you engineering? You're engineering your attention. All right. So what do attention engineers do? What's their job? They analyze your behavior and they borrow the same principles that are used in Las Vegas casinos, especially in slot machines, and they work with them on those social media platforms. So let me give you an example. On social media, you always have this downward motion, right? It's the same downward motion that you have in the slot machines. Just compare it to it, because it hijacks a certain dopamine center in your brain. And if it were the other way around, it wouldn't hijack your dopamine the same way. That's the job of those attention engineers. They're trying to understand what's making you addicted, and they're trying to implement as many features as possible into their platforms in order to make you addicted. And they're doing that from those casinos. They're borrowing these same principles that work with casino addictions and make them addictive on social media. So they hijack your dopamine. And why are they doing that? Because the advertisers that make money through your addiction, like you're getting addicted to social media, right? You spend a lot of your time there, about 4 to 5 hours a day, right? You're wasting your life there. And who is benefiting from that? So there are people out there benefiting from your social media addiction. You're spending 4 to 5 hours every single day on those social media platforms. And that's gonna lead you to make impulse purchases. Basically, if your dopamine is hijacked, it's gonna lead you to make impulse decisions, impulse purchases, because you can't think rationally anymore. You can't think rationally. Your rational thinking centers are shut down. We're gonna go into the science later. But basically, your data is getting sold to advertisers, and I think you have all heard this term before. If a product is free, if a product or service is free, you are the product. Like that goes with anything. If something's free, you're the product. And one of the best people to make use of this new way is actually Temu. Temu is so bad, but they're so genius at the same time. They make use of people's social media addiction. They have literally understand that. They're kings of how to addict people. Once you get on their platform, you see a spinning wheel, and it's basically a game. It's not even an e-commerce store for me. You play some games, it makes you addicted, you want to stay on their platforms, you make impulse decisions, and it's so easy to make impulse purchases because their products are only $2 or $3, maybe even less. So they have really mastered this. And how are they making money? They're making money with your data. Now, so basically what we have to understand from this slide is that you're basically carrying around a 24/7 slot machine in your pocket. That's all social media is. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, in my early childhood, I always thought that people that go to casinos get addicted to casinos because they want to hit the jackpot. But it's actually not the jackpot that makes people addicted. It's the anticipation of the jackpot. Now we're going to get into the next slide, which leads me to my next slide at this point. The anticipation of the jackpot is exactly what makes us addicted. Maybe a jackpot happens once in your lifetime, or twice or 3 times in your lifetime. It is really rare, but you're looking for it. And this looking for it, this pursuing something that might happen, is exactly what triggers our dopamine centers. When you look at social media, especially like short form video content like Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts, you feel terrible after watching them. The reason why is because you have short little clips that are really unrelated. They have really different type of content. One video is about cats, and another one is about a car accident, and another one is about, I don't know, some other topic, some other animal or something else, some technology, new iPhone. So this is really distracting, right? But you're going and your brain is thinking the next video might be really engaging. The next video might be really engaging. The next video might be really engaging. The fact of the matter is that it's exactly like the slot machines where like you might hit the jackpot now, you might hit the jackpot now, you might hit the jackpot now. And the downward spiral, right, the scrolling, is exactly the same. It's the same motion that triggers the same dopamine center. This is all by design. And they're working on that since over a decade, right? Maybe in more than 2 decades probably. So let's get into a few more really scientific stuff to really prove my point. Now they have done specifically, that I personally know about 2 dominant researches done on this topic. The first one is about the doom scrolling, but I was talking about the downward motion, right? This downward motion, this doom scrolling, is actually an obsessive compulsive behavior. And the reason why I've got this from Huberman Lab is because imagine a monkey right now. Imagine a chimpanzee, and you're watching that chimpanzee, how he is digging himself a hole because he thinks that there is a treasure somewhere or some food buried down there. And you would look at this chimpanzee and he finds that nothing's there, right? But he would just continue to dig down. He even hurts himself. Like he can't stop digging because he believes that there is a treasure waiting. But there is no treasure, nothing. How would that make you feel? Watching that chimpanzee would be so depressing. And that's exactly what we are in this scenario. We are just like that monkey in digging, looking for another treasure, looking for that next dopamine hit, looking for that next engaging video. And the scrolling motion is exactly the obsessive compulsive behavior. Another obsessive compulsive behavior would be, for example, catching on your fingernails. This is a really well-known obsessive compulsive behavior, and people can't stop doing this even if their fingers start to bleed. So an OCD is just a behavior that you can't stop doing because you've got so used to it, but it makes you actually feel bad. And they have also made a few researches, especially in universities. I can't name the exact university that was, but it was a very well-known university where they have done studies, and they have correlated that after the 2000s, so after social media got released, especially after 2006 where Facebook came around, the more social media the students used, the more anxiety they got. So I think you all have that. If you are really big social media users, you have this constant anxiety in you that you feel like every single second you must do something, or there is this constant anxiety about the future, or about, I don't know, like there's just some unease inside of you that can only be eased by following your addiction, which is social media. And I had this for 2 years, and I've just now started to stop after I've quit social media. And it's actually crazy to me because I never realized that it was because of social media. Even though I knew all these things, I didn't realize that my constant anxiety, that this feeling of unease, came from my social media usage, from looking for new suggested videos all the time. So basically, there are so many different side effects. When you look at the internet, research is kind of funny because a research paper will never really tell you that, yes, we came to the conclusion that social media is bad, or we came to the conclusion that social media is good. No research paper does that. But isn't it obvious enough that our entire generation is literally depressed and anxious? Like, how long do we have to wait? How many researches have we need to do in order to come to a proof, right? So don't get fooled. If somebody tells you, oh, there's no proof of social media making you anxious, dude, there's enough proof, there's enough research done, and it's definitely making you depressed. Let's get to another research done on rats, but I didn't find a picture on rats. That's why I used mice right here. This is a study done basically on dopamine. Like, they try to, and again, I can't name the studies because it's somewhere in my memory, some of these books that I've read, and I've just put them together right here, right? But you can Google them. Like, there are a million different researches done on the way dopamine works, the way they hijack your dopamine centers, whatever. Now, they have done a study on rats, and they've tried to understand how dopamine works. And they've basically understood that what dopamine does is not the feeling. Like, dopamine is basically, the purpose of dopamine is to motivate you to do a certain action. Like, for example, eating food would not be possible if we didn't have dopamine. So dopamine tells us to eat that food. It's going to be really tasty for you. And when we eat it, we feel a sense of reward. And that sense of reward gives us this signal, says that this reward system tells us to reinforce the habit. So first it tells us to do something, it rewards us by doing it, and then it reinforces the habit. And this is exactly why addictions exist, because of this reinforcing this habit. Like, we have hijacked, like, dopamine in and of itself is not a bad thing. Like, we as human beings wouldn't function correctly if dopamine wouldn't exist. But social media and modern technology and fast food and anything that hijacks our dopamine centers have become so addicting because they know exactly how to hijack your dopamine systems that you're getting addicted to it. And we're doing it in a way that's not really good for us, because nature knows how to keep things balanced. A lot of stuff that is really dopaminergic is stuff that happens rarely in life. But when you look at social media, for example, just scroll through your reels, you're sitting on the couch watching 1 minute of shorts, and you like you could basically watch someone in Tokyo, right? You could watch a vlog in Tokyo and feel like you're traveling across the world, but you're sitting on a couch, which makes it really rewarding because you didn't do anything to get it, but at the same time, you got the same feeling. You feel like you're there. So this is the science behind it. And they've found that if your dopamine is hijacked, if you don't have any dopamine left, which happens when you hijack your dopamine, your tolerance gets higher and higher, which means that the smaller things in life will not release any dopamine anymore, which means that the food that you eat is not going to be that interesting anymore. You're going to have to watch some YouTube videos while eating the food. You're going to need to listen to some music while taking a shower, because taking a shower isn't interesting anymore, which means your life is getting uninteresting the more you hijack your dopamine. And basically you're gonna have no motivation for life because you get the reward anyways. So why even bother, right? You get everything by sitting on your couch, so why bother? Now, the symptoms of dopamine hijacking is depression, anxiety, high ambitions but no pursuit. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos talking about if you're ambitious but lazy, titles like these, right? People feel this way because they are using social media, because they're addicted to dopamine. Another widespread social media symptom is ADHD. So not just do you have depression, not only do you have anxiety, not only do you have no motivation for life left, but you have ADHD, which makes a lower attention span. That's basically what it means. Back then, 100 years ago, people who were voting, right, for like the presidency, they were sitting around listening candidates for 4 hours straight or for an entire day, right? They were literally sitting there and listening to someone for 8 hours. This is the attention span that people had back then, 100 years ago. But now we have ruined our attention spans so much that we can't even focus on 10 minutes, right? Can't even focus on 10 minutes. Sometimes not even a minute. Like they have found that our attention span is literally worse than a goldfish. And I've always thought that was a joke. I thought that was like a metaphor of being like, haha, humans have a lower attention span than goldfish. No, it's true. People literally have a goldfish attention span. And you can Google it, right? Then we're gonna come into basically how you can reverse this symptom of ADHD. Because, all right, social media makes us anxious, right? Makes us depressed, and it gives us ADHD. But what can we do if we don't want to quit? So this is for you if you don't want to quit social media, but you want to do something to go against it. Build some habit that goes against the thing that you are doing, damage that you are doing with social media. How can we reverse it? One of those things is prayer and meditation. Why? Now, first of all, if you want to be successful in anything in life, anything, in your career, in your relationships, in your life, you have to have focus. You cannot be successful in anything if your attention span goes from one thing to the next, from one thing to the next, whether it be studying or pursuing a goal or pursuing a career, nothing. Literally, ADHD can ruin your life. Now, what can we do? This is also backed by research. They've done a research where they took people who had ADHD and they put them in a room and they've tried this simple exercise. They wanted from them that they look into a certain point, right? 1 minute, they look at that point, they can't blink, but they just fixate on that point and don't move their sight away from that simple point. They do that for 1 simple minute. You can try this at home if you want to. This is basically what meditation does and what prayer does. I personally pray 5 times a day, and I really find that it helped me a lot. It really helped a lot. I would really recommend do this exercise. Basically, what they found as an outcome is that ADHD had massively gone down just because of that 1 minute. And the more you do it, obviously, it's going to be better. So focus and do not put your side away, right? The best thing is prayer. in my opinion. Now, let's get to the next aspect. And we've now looked at how social media destroys your life mentally, right? But is social media maybe worth our time? And I'm here to tell you no. Social media is a waste of time. Everybody knows that. You can even watch this TEDx on the battle for your time, exposing the cost of social media by Dino Ambrosi. Really good TED talk. Go watch it. Basically, he had this image where he shows an 18-year-old's remaining time in months. So 1/3 of it is spent by sleep, right? And a whole bunch is spent in work and school, commuting, traveling, stuff like that. And then we have cooking and eating, and we have the bathroom, hygiene, chores, stuff like that, right? Driving too. And then we have a whole lot, which is like about 1/3 of our entire lifespans. That's like 30 years of free time. This is where you make relationships, form relationships, build relationships, and strengthen them, right? By spending time with family and friends. This is the time where you form those connections and make new friends and go out and have fun and exchange viewpoints and think about stuff, think about your life, come up with solutions, reflect on your life. And all of that is taken away by screen time. Can you imagine this? I think this visual is so amazing because it shows how much social media is wasting our life. Now let's get into my journey. I promise that this is also going to be really important, so watch until the end. First of all, the biggest obstacle that you're going to come with if you want to quit social media is fear of missing out. Even I had it. The way I quit social media was not like immediately. I quit it slowly through a process of 2 years. So first I kind of went through my followers list and I just ditched everyone. So the first thing that I did when I wanted to quit social media, or I wanted to look at my behavior, is that I literally went to Instagram and I just followed the people I really cared about, right? And I did this so long, I did it over and over again until I literally had only the people who I was already like meeting regularly. So there was literally no point in me having a social media account. And the big thing that led me to quit social media, and this is going to be a big one for you too, is that once you realize that nobody cares about you, okay? Like I had this age between like when I was 15 or 16 years old, I thought that everybody cares what I post on social media, and I posted a lot of stuff, right? But once I got older, at the age of 19, 20, now I'm 21, I realized more and more how nobody literally cares about what you post. The only people that literally care are the people that you meet anyways. These are the closest people to you. And here is, you can test this out if you want to test out how actually nobody cares about you on social media. You can just delete the app, right? Without telling anyone, or there is an option of pausing your account. So you're disappearing basically, but all your data is stored. So when you get back on, you can just activate it and you have not lost any data, right? Try this out. You can pause your account, deactivate your account, it's called, I think, on Instagram, and then look at who actually notices you. You just went away for a week and you're gonna see that only the people who you actually hang around with all the time are gonna care. And that's when you realize, like, dude, I thought that people care, right? Like nobody cares where you're at right now, where you travel to, with who you hang around with. They're gonna look at it for maybe a second or a split second and they're gonna move on with their day. That's it. That's social media. It's just entertainment. Everybody is addicted to it. Nobody knows why, and it's just a waste of life. It's just a waste of time. Now, I want to particularly mention a bigger problem. Now, let's say you quit social media. Will it change your life? This was also a very big point. People ask this all the time. Does it really change your life? Now, first of all, if you delete social media like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, stuff like that, but still are on YouTube, that's social media too, right? Social media is really, really hard to get rid of nowadays. And I have literally deleted Instagram, deleted Facebook, I've deleted all my social media accounts that I was addicted to 2 years ago. And now, somehow I always thought like, how am I still feeling all these symptoms? Why am I still feeling anxious? Why am I still feeling depressed? And I thought that if it's not social media, it must be about me. It must be my own anxiety, my internal anxiety. But I realized something big. I've never actually quit YouTube. And YouTube is as harmful as Facebook, is as harmful as Instagram. People have different addictions. For some of you, Instagram might be the one thing that you can't get rid of. For some of you, it might be YouTube. If you watch this video, it's probably gonna be YouTube, right? What is my advice, right? I would basically tell you to identify which one of these platforms is the one that you are addicted to the most. And if it's YouTube, know that YouTube is also an addiction. What you can do is you can install an extension called Untrap for YouTube. It's really helpful. I've downloaded it myself. Right now, I'm even on a challenge that you're gonna see a few weeks later, where I'm trying and testing out to get rid of YouTube, my YouTube addiction. So I'm actually in the process of making this video that's gonna be released in a few weeks if you're watching this right now. Because YouTube is just like Instagram, especially after YouTube Shorts has been made public. It's just like any other platform, really. And did it change my life? To recap, quitting social media didn't change my life because I quit the wrong social media. Even now, I realized that Instagram was never a big problem for me. My biggest problem was always YouTube. So I had to focus on quitting YouTube. But now, it's been about a week that I quit YouTube, and I already realize so much of a difference. I feel like a human being again. I can feel like a human being again. I don't have anxiety anymore. I can watch a movie. Like, I was unable to watch movies because I literally had such a time problem. I was like, I had to get everything out of every single second of my life that I couldn't get myself to watch a movie for 2 hours because I thought that I was busy all the time. That's exactly what the social media addiction does to you. You think you're busy, you think you're productive, you think you're onto something. That's what dopamine does, but you're actually just wasting your life. And at the end of the day, if you do this for 5 years, for 7 years, for 10 years, where are you gonna be in those years? You're not gonna build any big thing. Scrolling on social media will not get you anywhere. And I truly believe the only reason I use YouTube now is I use YouTube Studio to upload my videos. And when I want to watch something, I search for it. When I get something in my head, I'm like, oh, I remember this one video from this specific creator. And with the extension that I told you about from Untrap, you can literally customize every single thing on your YouTube. Right now, I have it set to homepage. I hit the YouTube homepage. So when I go on YouTube, I didn't block YouTube entirely, but when I go onto YouTube, it redirects me from the homepage. So instead of going to the homepage where all the suggestions are and all the YouTube shorts are, it redirects me to the watch later playlist. So that's where I look at. And I'm so much more intentional with the way I watch YouTube videos now. And I realized that back then, when I was a child, when I was like 10 years old, I also watched YouTube. And I always asked myself, what is the difference between YouTube now and YouTube back then? And I realized that the biggest difference is all those suggestions. The biggest enemy are those suggestions. Because whenever you watch YouTube, whenever you have this feeling of boredom, you're gonna open this app, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, and it's gonna suggest you a million different things that are especially tailored, designed for your interests. This is not healthy at all. And this is overstimulation, and it hijacks your dopamine, and we'll get back to all of those topics that we already discussed. So will quitting social media change your life? Yes, it definitely will, to answer your question. But you have to focus on the right social media. If Instagram isn't a big problem for you, quitting Instagram won't do anything. If YouTube is the main problem for you, you have to quit YouTube. That's when you feel the biggest difference. And it's gonna be hard, it's not gonna be easy, but you can do it slowly, especially with the extension, with Untrap. Install that on your browser, and there are also a huge ton of apps like Social Focus. Personally recommend that you delete all the social media on your phone and only use them through the web. So if you want to use Instagram, you actually have to get into Safari and type in instagram.com or youtube.com and only use them on your devices like your desktop PC or your laptop. So this is going to be a long process, but I really hope that I could help you with all of this information, and wishing you the best as always. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for not scrolling, not looking at the suggestions, and actually sticking to this long video. That shows me that you're actually on a good way to not hijack your dopamine centers. So have a good day, and we'll see us in the next one.